In this video, we're going to take a look at installing Anaconda, including Python 3.7, the 64-bit version, on a Windows system. Anaconda includes Python and a wide variety of the most commonly used modules for Python. To get it, we go to anaconda.org in a browser. I happen to be using a Chrome browser, but this should work in other browsers. And when I hit the enter key and get to anaconda.org, I am allowed to sign up for an account if I wish to. I don't care about using Anaconda Cloud. I just want Anaconda installed locally on my Windows 10 machine. So what I'm going to do is go up and click on Download Anaconda. Okay, so click that. And I get some advertising. I'm going to install the individual edition, which is free. Your data science toolkit, as they say. Easiest way to perform Python and R, data science and machine learning. We'll click the download button. And we're brought down to the various installers that are available. Now, there are two main versions of Python out in the world, Python 3.x and Python 2.x. Python 3.x has overtaken Python 2.x as the most widely used version of Python, or flavor of Python nowadays. So we're going to ignore these Python 2.7 versions, which are all older and steadily declining in usage. And we want to install one of the Python 3.7 versions. I happen to be on a Windows machine. You can also install Anaconda on a Mac or on a Linux machine. We're given a choice between a 64-bit installer or a 32-bit installer for Windows. It's almost certain that you have a 64-bit machine, and so we're going to click on 64-bit graphical installer. When I do that, since I'm using Chrome, in the lower left corner of my screen, I see this little icon here showing me the progress of the downloading of Anaconda. Let me now show that in my download folder. You'll need to do whatever is appropriate for your browser in order to get to this installation file. Okay, so there it is for me, and I'm going to double click Anaconda 3 2020-02. So this was the most recent update in February of 2002. Pardon me, February of 2020. So we'll double click that. And the installer will start up, and we get this setup window here. This will guide you through installation of Anaconda 3, blah, blah, blah. It is recommended that you close all other applications. So let me go ahead and do that. Well, obviously I can't close my recording, but I'll close my Chrome browser here. And now I'm going to click Next. And I will agree to the license agreement. And I'm going to install this for just me. That will probably work for you as well. You are probably, assuming you're using a Windows box or a Mac notebook, you are probably the only person using your desktop or notebook system anyway. So we'll just install it for ourselves. I'm going to click Next. And I am satisfied with the default destination folder on my system. My username is jostland, so by default my Anaconda is going to be installed in the C drive /users /jostland /Anaconda 3. That works for me. Now, I have an option here of adding Anaconda 3 to my path environment variable used by my command interpreter and various other applications. We're told this is not recommended, and instead that we should open Anaconda 3 from the Windows Start menu. So we're going to do that and leave the Add Anaconda 3 to my path environment unchecked. I only have, or only want, one version of Python 3.7 installed on my system, so I am going to leave this next box, register Anaconda 3 as my default Python 3.7. I'm going to leave that checked. In fact, I have been careful to remove older versions of Anaconda and Python before installing Anaconda 3. If you're already familiar with Python and you want to maintain prior versions of Python on your system, then you can leave those older versions of Python there. However, doing that can sometimes lead to confusion as to which version of Python is being used to execute a particular Python program. So I'm only going to have Anaconda 3, including Python 3.7, installed on my Windows box. All right, so I'll click Install, and this takes a little while. I'm going to clip out part of this video while I'm waiting for things to happen. Okay, so the Anaconda installation has completed, and I will click Next. Anaconda and JetBrains are working together, blah blah. PyCharm for Anaconda is available at. Now, PyCharm is a popular integrated development environment for developing and managing and maintaining and executing and debugging Python code. This is a separate add-on application. So if you would like, you can go ahead and download and install PyCharm. If you're new to Python, I would suggest skipping this step and coming back to it later if you would like. Let me, in fact, skip this step. There are other integrated development environments that Anaconda also installs by default, including things called Spyder and Idle and Jupyter. So we'll talk about some of those IDEs that we get by default first, and then later, if you would like, you can install PyCharm yourself. All right, so I'm going to click Next. Here are some helpful tips and resources. Anaconda Individual Edition tutorial. Learn more about Anaconda. If you would like to read all of that material, obviously you're welcome to do so. I am going to uncheck these two boxes so that I can just get right to having Anaconda installed. And I'll click Finish. And we're done. So now if I go to my Start menu, I will see that the most recently added things are things installed as part of Anaconda. I have the Anaconda PowerShell prompt, which gives me a character-oriented command line window, and I also have the Spyder integrated development environment installed, the Jupyter notebook development environment installed, and the Anaconda Navigator installed, which gives me access to a variety of other things that came with Anaconda. In fact, let me start that Navigator. So I'm going to click Anaconda Navigator, and it takes a little while to load. And here we have the Anaconda Navigator window. When I first launched the Anaconda Navigator window, this little window pops up here asking me if I would like to interact with Anaconda to help with improving Anaconda Navigator, fixing bugs, etc., etc. I'm going to uncheck yes. You can either leave it checked or not as you prefer. And I'm going to click OK, don't show this again. So now I can interact with these Anaconda applications from within the Anaconda Navigator. I have the Jupyter Notebook application. I have the Spyder Integrated Development Environment application. And I have a command.com prompt that I can run that will allow me to interact with Anaconda applications from the command line. For the moment, I'm going to just close Anaconda Navigator and move on to talking about some other setup and configuration things. Do I want to quit? Yes, I do. I want to make it more convenient for myself to be able to access Idle and Spyder, the two integrated development environments that are probably easiest to start with. So what I'm going to do is go to display my start menu and come up to the Anaconda 3 file with its submenu. I'll click the submenu here. Now, here where it says Anaconda prompt, I don't want the PowerShell prompt. I find the PowerShell awkward to work with, and for some reason Idle behaves strangely in terms of its text colors when you execute it from the PowerShell. So we'll go down to just plain Anaconda prompt, and I'm going to right-click my mouse here and select Pin to Start. Okay, and it gets added at the bottom. I'm going to move that up here so that it's closer to the top of my Start menu. I also want to click Anaconda prompt, right-click, pardon me. I'm going to right-click Anaconda prompt again, and under More, I'm going to say Pin to Taskbar. And you'll see that that plops an icon right in my taskbar so that I don't even have to look at my Start menu in order to execute the Anaconda prompt. In addition to the Anaconda prompt, another thing I want easy access to is Spyder. So I'm going to right-click on Spyder and click Pin to Start and move that up next to my Anaconda prompt. I will also right-click on Spyder again, and in More I'm going to say Pin to Taskbar. So now I have the Anaconda prompt icon and the Spyder icon both in my Start menu, and also, even more conveniently, in my taskbar. I can just tap the Escape key to get rid of my Start menu. And let me show you now how to interact with Idle and Spyder. Idle, I get to by starting an Anaconda prompt. Okay, so here is, it looks like an ordinary command.com window. It does tell me in the title bar that it is an Anaconda prompt, and it shows me that I'm working at the base level of Anaconda here. I can execute any command line Windows command that I like here. So I can say dir for a directory. I can say date to see the current date, time to see the current time, all these things. Now, to run the Idle integrated development environment, I just type idle as a command. And up pops this idle shell window. It says at the top, Python 3.7.6 shell. This is Python's interpretive shell interface, and I can execute Python code in here, like I can say create a variable a and assign a to refer to the integer value 123. Okay, so a now refers to 123, and if I just type a at the prompt, I get told what a is referring to. I can get out of idle by saying quit with parentheses, or I could, of course, just hit the the X in the upper right corner, or I could come into the File menu and say Exit. Any of these will work. And press Enter and confirm that I want to kill this program. We'll get much more into interacting with idle during the lecture videos. Okay, so that's idle. By the way, when you start your Anaconda prompt by default is probably going to have a black background and a white or very light gray text. I changed mine to reverse video because I think that it shows up better when I create videos having black text on a white background. Let me close this window. Now let's take a look at Spyder. I'm going to click on my Spyder icon here. In Spyder, the interface looks more complicated. It takes a minute or two to get started here. Okay, chug chug. Rattle rattle anytime now. There we go, Spyder 4. All right, and here is my Spyder interface, and I'm told Spyder 4.1.3 is available, which I could download if I wish. I'm just going to close that. I don't really care. Now Spyder can use kite. I don't really care. I'm going to dismiss that. Here, you'll see that Spyder is sort of split in half. On the left side is a text editor in a file. This file is named temp.py by default. And in the right side, in this lower right side, this is an equivalent interface to our shell that we just looked at in idle, although the prompt is different. So here on the right side, I can say A gets 123, hit the Enter key, and then ask to see A. And as output, I get told that A is the value 123. Over on the left side, I can write code. These triple double quotes here create what's called a document string at the top. You can just leave those alone. And let me type in some Python code here. Now this font is so tiny. Let me try to increase the font size. All right, so let me go to Tools, Preferences, and Appearance, actually, is what I think I want. Font size 10. That's too small for me to see. I'm going to change that to 24 and click Apply. There we go. Now I can actually see what's going on. So I still have A, the variable A defined over here on the right side. So if I press A, I see 123. Over here, I can write Python statements such as print of the string hello world. I get some help messages when I use the print function. Let me say file save. The file name here is temp.py, and then I can say run. Execute in current console, run, and there we go. So it gets executed in the console window, and what I see is the output from that print function call. Okay, so this is probably a more friendly interface for you to use than the idle interface that I use in my lectures. The reason I like to use idle rather than Spyder in my lectures is precisely because Spyder has so much stuff on the screen here. all these icons and buttons and menus and whatnot. Idle is very plain, and so I can fit more stuff with less distraction on the screen when I'm using idle in my lectures. All right, well, so much for that. So let me just close Spyder. And there we are. Okay, so now you know how to install Anaconda. You know how to make access to the Anaconda prompt and Spyder simple, either from within the Start menu or from the taskbar. And I've shown you very briefly how to start and quit from idle, and how to also start and interact with and quit from Spyder. So off you go.